Imagine holding a coin worth thousands, maybe even tens of thousands, of dollars, yet it looks almost identical to the pocket change you've been spending for years. That's the reality with the 1984 and 1985 Jefferson Nickels, two modern coins that command astronomical premiums in certain conditions. Today, we're examining these deceptively ordinary-looking treasures that could be hiding in your collection or even in that jar of loose change on your dresser. Let's start with the 1984 Jefferson nickel. Minted during the Reagan administration when most Americans were focused on economic recovery, these 5-cent pieces were produced by the millions at 3 different mints. But here's where things get interesting. While the Philadelphia and Denver mints churned out hundreds of millions, the San Francisco Mint created a much smaller batch, just under 4 million proofs specifically for collectors. What makes the 1984 nickel so valuable isn't just mintage numbers though. It's the perfect storm of preservation issues and collector demand. You see, in the 1980s, the mint was transitioning between different production methods, and quality control wasn't always perfect. Many 1984 nickels entered circulation with minor flaws, and few people thought to preserve them in pristine condition. After all, who saves a common nickel? The key to identifying a valuable 1984 Jefferson nickel is the mint mark and condition. Look for the tiny letter on the obverse side below the date, P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, and S for San Francisco. The real treasures are those with MS 67 or higher grades. For context, MS stands for mint state, and the number indicates just how pristine the coin is, with 70 being absolutely perfect. In 2022, a 1984 P. Jefferson nickel graded MS 67 full steps sold for a staggering $15,600 at auction. Full steps refers to the complete detailing of the steps on Monticello, Jefferson's home depicted on the reverse. This detail is often weakly struck, making fully detailed examples exceptionally rare. Here's something most casual collectors don't realize: modern coins in extraordinary condition can be far rarer than much older coins. While there may be hundreds of thousands of 1984 nickels still in existence, perhaps fewer than 20 exist in MS 67 full steps condition. In fact, population reports from major grading services indicate that there are only 7 known examples graded MS 67 plus full steps, with none finer. The condition spectrum creates a fascinating value range for these coins. A circulated 1984 nickel might be worth just 5 cents, while one in MS 65 might fetch $20 to $30. But jump to MS 66 full steps and you're suddenly talking $1,000 plus. At MS 67 full steps, we enter 5-figure territory. What's particularly intriguing about the 1984 nickel is its sleeper status. Unlike famous rarities that everyone recognizes, these coins flew under the radar for decades. Many were likely spent or tossed aside before collectors recognized their potential value in top grades. And that's what makes coin collecting so fascinating. Sometimes the greatest treasures aren't ancient gold pieces but seemingly ordinary coins that somehow survived in extraordinary condition. Now let's turn our attention to the 1985 Jefferson nickel, a coin that shares many characteristics with its 1984 counterpart but with its own unique story and value proposition. Like the previous year's issue, the 1985 nickel was produced in large quantities at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with proof specimens struck at San Francisco. The 1985 nickel emerged during a fascinating period of American numismatic history. The government had recently abandoned the production of silver dollars through the failed Susan B. Anthony program. Collectors were becoming increasingly interested in mint sets, and the mint was working to improve striking quality after years of criticism from the collecting community. What makes the 1985 Jefferson nickel particularly notable is the unusual striking characteristics from that year. Mint pressure adjustments led to a significant number of weakly struck coins, with the steps on Monticello often appearing flat or incomplete. This manufacturing quirk means that finding examples with fully defined steps becomes exceptionally challenging and valuable. Identifying a premium 1985 nickel requires careful examination using good lighting and preferably a magnifying glass. Beyond the mint mark, P, D, or S, you'll want to inspect Jefferson's hair details on the obverse and, crucially, those Monticello steps on the reverse. The coin should have clean surfaces free of significant marks, strong rim definition, and a distinct strike that brings out all the intended details. In terms of market value, the numbers are truly astonishing for high-grade specimens. While a typical circulated 1985 nickel remains worth face value, the price escalates dramatically with condition. A 1985 P in MS 66 might bring $50 to $100, but a 1985 P in MS 67 full steps condition sold for an incredible $18,800 at a heritage auction in 2021, nearly $3,800 per step. There's an interesting pattern here that serious collectors recognize. The 1980s produced several modern rarities in the Jefferson Nickel series, with both the 1984 and 1985 issues being prime examples. This wasn't due to low mintages but rather because of strike quality issues and the fact that very few examples were preserved in pristine condition. When you consider that millions were produced but perhaps only a dozen exist in top collector grades, you begin to understand the premium. A fascinating aspect of the 1985 nickel involves the full steps designation itself. For a Jefferson nickel to qualify, it must show at least 5 complete steps on Monticello, though some grading services require all 6. The steps must be fully separated and distinct, not just partially visible. This detail is particularly elusive on 1985 nickels, making those that qualify true condition rarities. The preservation story also offers an interesting angle. Many of the finest 1985 nickels known today were saved purely by chance, perhaps set aside in a mint set by a casual collector, or tucked away in a dealer's inventory and forgotten. Others may have been recognized early by sharp-eyed numismatists who noticed their exceptional strike quality. Either way, these coins represent a perfect intersection of rarity, condition, and collector demand. To wrap up today's exploration, both the 1984 and 1985 Jefferson nickels represent what makes modern coin collecting so exciting. They remind us that extraordinary value can hide in seemingly ordinary places. While most of us grew up considering nickels just pocket change, these specific examples demonstrate how condition, strike quality, and preservation can transform common coins into 5-figure treasures. The next time you're sorting through old change or inheritance coins, don't just look for silver or unusual dates. Pay attention to condition and strike quality, especially on modern issues from the 1980s. Remember, the difference between a common coin and a rare treasure isn't always age or mintage, sometimes it's simply about finding that one example that somehow survived in extraordinary condition while millions of its siblings were spent, damaged, or forgotten. Happy hunting, and I'll see you next time for more hidden treasures from the world of numismatics.